2020 to order, 7:03. Just a couple of quick we'll do this. A couple of quick things. Mary Ann will not be here. Charlie Massaberti will not be here. They are both sick. So I do need to let everybody know that our two alternates, Robert Kwasnicki and Catherine Plopper, will be sitting as voting members tonight. And I need a secretary. Do I have any takers? Let's not all jump at once. Basically, all you're going to do is take attendance, and then I'll help you through the rest of it as we go. So go ahead and take roll call.
Maurice,
Here.
Andrew,
Here.
Marianne is excused, Charles is out, Kelly is here, Robert Kwasnicki,
Here.
Catherine Popper,
Here.
and Richard Stroney.
Here.
All right. Fire evacuation, two means of egress out of the council chambers. To your right, our left. Through the doors, take your first door down the stairs, straight out into the parking lot, or in front of us, behind you folks in the audience, through the double doors, down into the parking lot. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We're going to do things in the order that we have on our agenda tonight. The applicant's not here yet. We want to give them every opportunity to show up. So old business, in your packet, you will find the bylaws, reviews of the bylaws. Actually, they're in front of you on the table. You also received them electronically this past week. Everybody have a chance to go through them? Now, we weren't making any changes, right? We were just waiting for a legal opinion on something?
No. You guys made changes at your last meeting, and the changes denoted in red are what was asked. So if you guys are comfortable with those sections, with those red changes, we can move forward to propose to approve or adopt. And if you want to forward a recommendation to the town attorney to review, you can do that as well. Do you have any questions on any of the sections?
I don't. You said the parts in red are what we've changed?
What you guys asked for
Last
me
time.
to change?
Okay. Okay, I don't have any questions on anybody else. So now the next step, we approve this.
You can, but one thing I would recommend is with the amendments, Article 14, perhaps like shortening all those amendments, because the past opinion that we received from the town attorneys was they don't really recommend having all the amendments that were made there. So if you wanted to have like a shorter thing that said bylaws completely revised as amended, and put the one date versus removal of this and grammar, that would shorten it. You don't really want to have a lot of filler in your bylaws if you want to keep the amendments.
I think we had this discussion last time,
We did.
and we decided that we wanted to keep them because there's no reason we can't have them.
I know Mary Ann had some dialogue on it.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns was how the history of what's been changed when.
Right.
Where can we access that if not in here?
Right, that was the biggest concern, was if we take it out of here, we can say it was amended whenever and put a date, but where and how do we access if if a board ever wants to know what was amended?
Everything that is amended is filed in the office of the town clerk, and in the town attorney legal opinion of December 2019, the question was, should the ZBA include the entire history of the amendments in their bylaws? The short answer was no. This practice is not recommended as it can lead to confusion, nor is there any legal requirement to include the entire history. The bylaws, by definition, are to provide direction for running of the organization. So that's why planning was still proposing, again, to shorten it, because it can lead to confusion as well as it wasn't necessary.
You know, I hate to do this because we've been sitting on these for a long time, but I've got 2 regular members out. Can we keep this on the table for 1 more month?
Yeah, you can do whatever you like. You guys can make a motion to.
I would like to get with the other 2 members. I know there was dialogue that included them, and they're not here. And I know we discussed this particular thing quite a bit. So I do want to make sure I take everybody's opinion into consideration here before we vote. So, do I have a motion to leave this on the table?
Motion to table till the next regular meeting of the ZBA.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Do we not have a recording secretary tonight? So that passed unanimously, if you didn't see it. All right, so we're gonna table that. Instructional guides and application forms.
Yes, that's still currently being under review. You guys don't have any new material. That's just to let you know that we still have that in the works with you guys, and we're going to, once we get, legal opinion, we'll move it forward.
Gotcha. Okay. Then I guess we continue to move on. Is the legal notice inside of here?
I didn't see it in the packet.
Do you have a copy of the legal notice? Because I didn't have one in the packet, and we don't have one
Is it
in
in
the
the
folder here.
this folder?
It's usually in here.
Oh, it's usually in there. Yeah, this is just the attachments.
But we usually get one in our packet as
Right.
well, and I didn't see one. It was labeled for one, but I didn't see it.
I don't have it on me, but it,
I think that's verbatim from the notice, right? We just don't have the date. We do have the date.
Yeah, where we have this blurb on our agenda, is that verbatim?
yeah, that's
within the legal
verbatim,
notice?
and I wrote in correspondence to the applicant that the legal advertisement was set to be for Thursday, January 16th, 2020, and Friday, January 24th, 2020.
Can you got a pen to write that down? So when were those?
Yes, Thursday, January 16th, 2020, and Friday, January 24th, 2020.
Okay, so you're just gonna read that.
And then just read that it ran in the Journal Inquirer on those dates.
ZBA number 2019-12-23, 79 Enfield Street, application to appeal the cease and desist order of the zoning enforcement officer regarding the violation of section 5.20 use table for business in section 3.00.1 conformity of buildings and land, use and occupancy, 79 Enfield Realty LLC, owner Louis Masashi, applicant map 035, lot 0217, King Street, Enfield Street, Design Overlay District and Business Local, BL Zone. Date of record 12/30/19. MOPH is 2/24/20. Advertised
Thursday.
Thursday, the 16th, the 2020, and Friday, the 24th, 2020.
Okay. The applicant does not appear to be here, correct? Rich, can you give us a overview, please?
Yeah, I'll give you a short synopsis of what transpired. Approximately the beginning of October, the property maintenance and the building department received complaints regarding activity at 79 Enfield Street. Myself and the building inspector went to the address on the 3rd of October. We spoke to an employee there by the name of Seth. We asked about what type of activity, what kind of business it was, and he informed us that it was a recycling business. I went by the name of Zebra. Zebra Industries. He wasn't really sure, to be perfectly honest with you. So at that point, I went back to the office and I did some further checking, and I found located under State of Connecticut, Secretary of State, a Zebra Environmentals that was located out of East Street in Suffield, a residential home. And that was the closest one I could find. Subsequently, that in fact was the name of the business that's presently doing business there. I wound up checking the properties. It's a little strange the way it's set up. 79 Enfield Street is business local, and there's a small portion of property to the rear, which is about 40 feet wide, and that's residential 33. And at one point, there was an addition to the building that actually extends into the R33 portion of the property. Both pieces of property are owned by the same, Mr. Masashi, and both under 79 Enfield Realty, LLC. So the area of the business was checked several times, and photographs were taken. There were a number of tractor-trailer trucks and trailers that were parked at the building. At one point, it was October 21st, I went up there. I spoke to the gentleman, said he was operating it, said his business was Zebra Environmental, and he let me in. I took several pictures. Those should be in your packets. And the business is actually recycling rubber, rolls of rubber. They cut it up, and then they have a machine that binds it up into basically blocks of rubber, and then they load it into the tractor-trailer trucks and haul it away from time to time. The tractor-trailer trucks, the trailers actually have been moved constantly since the complaint started. When I spoke to the gentleman that said he was operating the business, part of the issue was late hours of work, and he assured me that that wasn't going to take place. But unfortunately, according to the neighbors, all hours of the night, there's some neighbors that are actually here, and I was told that throughout the night to 3 o'clock in the morning, they still operate the business, which is causing a disturbance to the neighborhood. And they're still actually working now. I was up there today. I have a couple pictures here I can show you. There was actually a tractor-trailer and trailer that were blocking the road. They actually hired a police officer to direct traffic. And so I have a couple pictures. I can give those to you also.
Saw that in person. Happy to be up there. You want to just describe the picture into the record for us, please? Or you could do it. It doesn't matter.
So you actually had to drive off the roadway to get around that.
Right.
Let the record reflect, we have two pictures handed to us by the ZEO, one showing a tractor-trailer tractor parked on Willard Avenue and Route 5, and then a detailed view of the same tractor on Willard Avenue.
All right, so on October 24th, I issued a notice of violation and cited sections of the regulations, one being 3.00.1, which is conformity of building and land, use and occupancy, and Section 5.20, which is business use table, which includes the business local zones. We consider and it has been past practice, that a recycling type of business is would be in an industrial zone considered manufacturing, rather than in a business local type of zone. The specific portion of conformity in buildings and land use and occupancy, I'll read it to you. No building, structure or premises shall be used or occupied, and no building or part thereof or other structure shall be erected, raised, moved, placed, reconstructed, extended, enlarged, or altered, and except for conformity with the regulations herein specified for the district in which it is located. And as such, this is business local that does not allow for industrial type use such as recycling or manufacturing. I received a call from the owner, a voicemail message, and I called him back and I explained to him what the situation was, and he just said he doesn't understand why it can't be there, and we went on. The previous use of this business or this location was electrical wholesalers, and that was wholesale and retail, but wasn't manufacturing. The issue continued, and on December 2nd, I issued a cease and desist order. The owner subsequently sent a letter to our office requesting an appeal. And then I contacted him and then subsequently sent him an email with the appropriate forms that had to be filled out for the appeal process. So that was filed with our office, and we contacted him several times with emails notifying him of the hearing coming up of his appeal. And it was pretty much up to him to show up to defend his actions and use of the property if he chose to do so, and he doesn't appear to be here tonight. So I'll take any other questions if you may have any.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
States here we couldn't confirm if the applicant has either received or sent a butters notification. Do we know if that went out at all?
He apparently has not sent out letters, but under the regulations, it's maybe in the application for the appeal, but it's not in the actual zoning board of appeals bylaws. There is a state statute that says the notice of a hearing shall be published in a newspaper, which was done. In addition to such notice, such commission, board, or agency may, by regulation, provide for additional notice. Such regulations shall include provisions that the notice be mailed to the persons who own land that is adjacent to the land that is subject to the hearing, or be provided by posting a sign on the land that is subject of the hearing, or both. Now, obviously, those aren't in our present regulations. In time, those are one of the things that we're going to address to be actually put into the regulations. But as it stands right now, there's no requirement for him to do so.
Thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions? Do we know at what point that addition was put in? And how was it approved? Was it approved through a variance, or, because obviously I'm looking at the buffer zone, because there's different buffer zone requirements, but it's kind of within the buffer zone?
I actually have the file up in the office. It was from 1969. It was a public hearing. I believe it was 177. It was an older one. It was a different zone up there. I believe it was G.
Right.
And at that time, it went through a public hearing for the addition. Why, I don't have the...
So that was probably before our current buffer requirements. And
Yeah, it was, like I said, I'm pretty sure it was 1960, I think it was 60.
69 or something?
It was in
We
the
looked at it.
60s.
The history of the property is on your staff report.
Right,
when you
I
went
read through that, but it didn't, I just wanted to kind of get an idea in my head as to when that addition got put in, and make sure that it was a legal addition. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So these guys, they opened business, but they've never come into the planning department? They've never gone in front of PZC to open a business? They just kind of
Not-
rented it and moved in?
Not this time, not this type of recycling business, no. And it wouldn't be, as the regulations stand right now, it wouldn't be approved because, in that location, because it's an industrial type of use.
Right, I'm just surprised that anybody thought that they could just rent something and move in and don't say anything. This is just what I'm going to do.
Well, actually, it's up to the property owner. If the property owner wants, the property owner should know what his zone is and what is allowed there.
Right.
And, I mean, just someone coming to him, he's going to rent out at least the property, and just go from there until someone checks it, and finds out that there's an issue here, which happened in this case.
Now, I read in his statement, which kind of differs from what you were saying before. He said no recycling is being done on the property. But it sounds like they're taking rolls and cutting them up and condensing them and repackaging them to ship out, right?
That's correct. I mean,
In fact, there is some, they're not milling it, they're not burning it, but they are in fact doing some type of recycling.
well, it would be similar to like a bottle plastic recycling location. You can go to your grocery store and you have the machines. You drop in your bottles. That's a small scale recycling. Convenience for you. But the actual recycling of the plastic is done at a
Right.
recycling facility that processes the plastic.
Processing it.
And so they chop up the plastic. In this case, they're getting rolls, as you can see in the pictures, rolls of rubber. They're chopping it up and then bundling it in bales and then loading it onto trucks and then shipping it off.
Is there a regulations regarding hours of operation for a business local zone? Is that part of? No. Okay.
Well, that would be said if they went in front of PZC to open the business.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. If they submitted an application, it was something that they could approve. Oftentimes, P&Z will set hours, or they will have their own hours, and P&Z will approve those. That obviously didn't happen in this
They
case.
didn't go that route. They just moved in and set
Yeah.
up shop.
And we know, is there like a definition for a recycling operation?
Our regulations don't go down to specifics. Otherwise, they would be 1,000 pages long,
Sure.
just to list all the different types. But in the industrial zone, we would consider it manufacturing, fabricating, processing, assembling, cleaning, servicing, testing, or repairing of materials. So we would consider it manufacturing or processing of the rubber.
That fits into that.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Anything else for the zoning enforcement officer?
I have one more quick question. Just so, even warehouse use wouldn't be permitted in that BL zone. So even if it is just warehousing, that still wouldn't be an approved use, correct?
That's correct. It wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, I think EW did some warehousing, but that was just a warehouse what they were selling through the front of the building, to the store.
Yeah, they did a limited amount of storage in the back facility where this is
selling.
actually going on, and the name just happened to be electrical wholesalers. But other than that, they were just selling to the public in
Right.
majority of the time.
Anything else? All right, well, we're going to open it up to the public. If there's anybody in the audience that wishes to speak in favor or against, go ahead, come forward. Yes, ma'am? Make sure the red light is on the microphone,
It's on.
and state your name and address for the record.
My name's Cheryl Blythe. I live at 6 Willard Ave, Enfield, Connecticut,
Okay,
on the adjoining properties to the one in question right now.
okay.
I don't know where to begin. I have 28 pictures I've taken over time of what's been going on as far as blocking traffic. Other things, it's the noise that comes out of this building when they're loading and unloading at this loading dock. I mean, my whole house vibrates. I have had for 20-something years, figurines up over my window that come down twice a year to be dusted. Well, they have decided all of a sudden they're gonna, and to the floor, I've got glassware in my china that I have to keep moving back. The neighbor across the street is here, he hears the same thing. We feel the vibration. We had this tractor trailer one day. I don't know if you want to look through my packets of pictures, and if you have questions.
No, if you'd like to submit them, you could submit them to the office and they'll stamp them into record.
Thank you.
It's,
Let's do it on for now.
they had a tractor trailer one day hooked up, still hooked up. It wasn't just the box that was dropped, but it was going right across Willard Ave. And like the picture he had showed you, they had to go around it. Well, it was parked that way this one day for over 9 hours with the engine running. And we called the police earlier in the day because it was blocking traffic. We've had days where when they do this, the plow, if it snows, can't plow our street properly. He goes around it, so then when the truck moves, this whole side is not plowed. Today, we witnessed a school bus trying to come down through there, and I thought she was gonna tip into the light pole, but she made it through. It's just a nuisance. The odors that come out of these vehicles that run for over 9 hours, we had the police department there, along with the fire department one day, because my house downstairs smelled like exhaust fumes. I have COPD. I didn't like it. Sometimes I leave my window open at night for the fresh air. I can't do it because they got vehicles running. This loading dock, I don't know what the light system is they got. It shines into the side yard / backyard of ours. The forklift that's in and out, every time it hits that metal plate that goes between, I guess, bang, 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 and then they drop these rolls, which are huge, and the whole house vibrates. The light from the forklift is like a spotlight in my side yard. It's, you see the flashing of it. I don't know, what else? There's no buffer between us and them, none whatsoever. To stop any of the noise or the building itself on that side looks disgusting. They never maintain the sidewalk to clear it or shovel it. I had a run-in with him last week, as a matter of fact, this Seth guy. I came onto Willard Ave from Route 5, and the tractor trailer was parked there, but he was putting up his wheels to leave. So I figured it's a matter of 2 minutes, I'll wait. He gets in his truck, and he says to me, go around, meaning back up, go up Route 5, come down one of the side streets and around Roy. And instead, I said, I'll just back up and give him the room to come out. Well, this guy, Seth, must have been up at Valero's. That's the only place I could think of he came running from. But he comes running down, screaming and hollering and swearing at me, calling me an F&B. He says, what are you doing? And I says, the guy told me to go around. I said, I just moved. And he just started swearing at me and going off on me. As soon as my husband came out, he disappeared. No, it's just, all hours of the night, all hours. You think 10 o'clock, when we spoke with them when they first moved in, and all we said is, we ask you after 10 o'clock, keep it quiet. We didn't know what kind of business it was at the time. Oh, no. You think it's quiet, and all of a sudden, 11:15, bang, or 6 in the morning, bang, and it feels like an earthquake going on in your home. The quality of our home now is not what it was when we moved in there. It's not. My grandkids, the play area is right up against that loading dock. Well, not up against it, but it butts where that loading dock is. And the way these tractor trailers back in and they tilt because of that one slope there, I'm afraid those rolls, because they're round, are going to shift, and it's all going to topple my way. I don't like it.
Okay.
I guess that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much. Anybody else in the audience wishing to speak in favor or against? Come forward.
Just read that.
Yes.
Just for the record, she had handed in for the record a stack of photographs depicting various tractor trailers and semi-tractors parked across Willard Avenue. Can we give a count of how many?
Sure.
.28 photos in total.
Name and address for the record, please.
Carl Damon, 3 Willard Avenue. In conjunction to what my neighbor Cheryl said, or in addition to, the noise factor, the tractor trailer is going up into my driveway, across the belt line. You can even see tractor trailer lines at the top of the street, over the sidewalk. As of today, you can see that it's tore up. We don't need tractor trailers there. That's the key thing. They're terrorizing the street area, the noise. How could businesses have regulations and let them go in? You know, somebody wants to, rent something out. Are there any regulatory laws for businesses to look in to see what's going into a leasing property before they can move in?
Well, yeah, typically somebody comes in front of planning and zoning.
So this was never done?
That's what I'd asked earlier.
Right,
It wasn't
right.
done, so that's what got us to where we're at today.
Okay,
So,
okay. Yeah, because
Their last approval was PH 1966, special use permit for motor vehicles for rental use for U-Haul trucks, vans, and rent-a-wreck. That was their last approval.
Is there anything within that as far as, 53-foot trailers, 40, that,
Nothing that we saw there.
no, in fact, they were limited as to how many cars could be on the lot. They could only have 4 cars displayed at a time, and
right?
so our planning department does a good job putting forth rules and regulations for businesses to follow. But again, it didn't go that route, so that's why we're at the point we're at today.
This, okay.
And Raquel, that was for rental operations.
Yes, for U-Haul.
Anything else?
No, that's
All right,
all I have to
thank
say.
you very
is- Okay.
This would be- this
If I
would be the
could
point-
just bring one other point up.
Yep.
Commissioner Benowitz asked a question earlier about the zone. If you look at our regulations, the buffer zone, the regulations that deal with buffer zones presently require between a residential and a business zone 35 feet
And 100 for,
and 100 for industrial. The width of the property is only 40 feet, but the building itself extends into that 40-foot, if you want to consider it a buffer.
That's the four-wheelered that,
Correct.
okay.
so you only get 28 feet buffer.
The property is actually, the building is actually 21 feet away from the neighboring property line. So there isn't even really a buffer zone there between the business local and the residential property that exists today.
Right.
So if something like that were to come in now, it wouldn't be allowed just simply because of the buffer zone itself.
Right. Yeah, the businesses that are currently there now are allowed because they were there before the buffer regulation went where it is. This is the point where I would usually have the Applicant come forward for final say, but the applicant is still not here. Anybody?
I had a couple things to say.
Yep, come on up.
Oh, my name. My name is Howard Blight, and I live at 6 Willett Ave.
Okay.
I don't hear too good and I have a nervous condition, but I'll try my best.
Okay.
I lived on Willard Ave for 37 years. I own 6. I bought that about 30 years ago. I also own 7 Willard Ave, which is across the street.
Okay.
I have to say right off the bat, this is the worst business that's ever been there. I've seen a lot of businesses come and go. I've tried talking to the owner of the building and the business, and he yeses you to death, but he don't do nothing. I've had the blight law down, Dave downstairs, and then people before him. I've never had to have them there before in 25 years until this man bought the building. He does not keep up with the building. There's junk all over, there's pallets all over. And in the bylaws of the town, there's a storage area, a storage trailer parked on the side of his property. According to the bylaws of the town, it's only supposed to be there 30 days. It's been there for 2 years. I've never said nothing about it to him, but it's been there for 2 years. It's an eyesore. As far as the business itself, my wife has COPD. It's not only rubber they're doing, it's plastic that they are chopping up and reforming, plastic rolls. And when they open the bay door, you can see the dust coming out. And come summertime, my wife ain't gonna be able to breathe out there with this stuff. Myself, we've had the police there 3 or 4 times. They have ticketed the trailers for blocking the sidewalks a couple times already, Sergeant Myers. The issue is, they bring their trailers down, they drop them in front of my house, drop the boxes to switch trailers or whatever they want to do. They drop them on the other side of the street and block my driveway. They drop them on the corner. Then, you can hardly get around Willard Ave to Roy as it is, and there's going to be a severe accident there someday. And it's just the business itself that, as far as I'm concerned, if I look into the bylaws and that of the town, the property from my property line, 40 feet over, is still residential, and that's where they added, like Rick said, the bay and the dock on. They shouldn't be there. That's residential. I'd like to see that dock taken out of there. They can leave the bay. The back of the building is falling down. It's just concrete is falling right out of the building. It's just a shamble, and it's a disgusting mess to look at. But I've even tried to talk to the gentleman that's running this business. They don't want to do nothing. And like I said, the worst thing came a week and a half ago when he started swearing at my wife and this and that. F this and you're a B, and I won't put up with that. I've had, I wasn't there, and I was told by the police department I should have filed a report anyway, even though it's his word against theirs. I would like to see the business out of there. When the electrical company was there, they were there for years. They were there for 20-something years or whatever. They had tractor trailers coming into the bay. We had problems with that. They damaged my property. They damaged some of my property. They knocked down the fence. They paid for it. They reimbursed me for the damage they did. They checked with the town. We checked with the town. They stopped using the bay, the dock for tractor trailers. They used the other bay that was on there farther up past the 40 feet that wasn't on residential, and used the smaller box trucks. So that's all I did was talk to them, and we straightened it all out. Tractor trailers don't belong on that street. our quality, like my wife said, our quality of life has gone way downhill. You know, and I hope something can be done, because this gentleman, Lou, he don't care. He don't want to do nothing. You know, I've even talked to him about his restaurant next door, about the dumpsters. They stink. He don't want to do nothing with that. So, I mean, he owns both. Right now, that rest is vacant. But I would personally like to see that dock just gone. Because, like I said, 40 feet from my property, and like Rick said, that's residential. It's still residential, and it's on the map as posted as residential, not business. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. What were you asking, Rob?
Just kind of a recap. So, Rick, there's been action taken. You've been out on the property. I'm just going to recap, and correct me if I'm wrong, because the question came up on a testimony. They have been issued a cease and desist order, and if they continue in violation of that, it's a $150 fine each day of that violation. And then what would be the next step?
Normally what happens is they're given 10 days to appeal the cease and desist order. So once they start the appeal process, then we have to wait until we have a hearing here before ZBA to either uphold the zoning enforcement order, the cease and desist order, or to change it, or to reverse it altogether. If someone normally does not go for an appeal before this board, once that 10-day appeal process is over, I issue a citation. That citation goes to the town manager's office. The individuals are then charged $150 a day per violation until they request a hearing or they rectify the violations. So actually, I figured it out today. I mean, from 12/12, which was the date of the notice of violation, until the 27th, today, 45 days have elapsed. Now, the notice of violation under the regulations, that gives the individual 30 days to rectify it. The cease and desist will give them another 10, unless they appeal it. Once that 10-day period is over, then it goes to the citation phase. And for instance, at this point in time, the violations normally would go from when it first started until it goes before the zoning or before the hearing officer on the citation, and it amounts to $13,500. So, if you uphold my enforcement, then the next step would be a citation would be issued to him. He can again appeal the amounts, but basically it's the review of the notice of violation, the cease and desist order, and the citation. Were they timely? Were they sent properly? And otherwise, that's pretty much it.
We're not there right now because he opted to appeal it right now. So
Right.
That's where we're at right now.
On some of these, just as out of my curiosity, it sounds like there might be an environmental issue with runoff and processing. Does that go to? Do we have a department or?
The fire department was up there regarding on the 17th of December for the fumes. So they actually went into their house and checked to see the CO levels to determine whether or not there were any issues there. I talked to the fire department. There was a strong odor both in the house and outside the house, but the CO levels were, there wasn't an issue according to their scope that they checked the levels with. As for any runoff or any debris running off, it's not necessarily in a wetland area, but there is a regulation that determines odors and noise that we could also look at, but and possibly recite, but at this point in time, it's mostly the actual operation of the business and the use and the yeah. It's basically the use and the nonconformity under the regulations. There is a section that performance standards. It's 7.10, and we have a couple that deal with dust, dirt, fly ash, and smoke. Also odors, gases, and fumes, and noise. So we could, or I could, cite him in addition to the ones that I already have with other violations, but basically we want to address this as soon as possible just because of the operation that's going on.
Just a little concerning about the potential, I don't know if it was a state issue, about an environmental impact with runoff. That's all, just bringing that up. And then just from a safety perspective, the pictures that were shared with us and some from you, Rick, the tractor trailers are blocking the flow of traffic and the sidewalk, impeding clearing of the sidewalk. I'm hearing school buses having a hard time getting around. Is that street allow for? I mean, I know this is not a zoning board of appeals, but I'm just looking at. There's a lot of concerns here.
Yeah, well, it was being addressed by the police department. They issued parking tickets. I spoke to the sergeant regarding that. And now to try to circumvent the issuance of the parking tickets, they hired a police officer to direct traffic. Now, I don't know what side to take on that, what view to take, but it's not justifying the violation that exists.
Correct.
But it's a means of them to get around the parking ticket at this point in time because they have
no longer violate the law.
Right, because it's same as someone digging up the highway. If they hire a police officer, they might impede traffic, but the police officer is there to direct traffic. So it's still, yeah, that's correct. It still doesn't address the use that's going on.
Right. Yep. No, understand. Thank you.
So with the applicant not here, does anybody see the need to hold the hearing open? Or do I have a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Made,
You can have it.
okay, made and seconded. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Hearing is now closed. Discussion. Or, no, first I need a motion. Do I have a motion to approve?
A motion to affirm wholly the order ZBA 2019-12-23.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, okay, now we have discussion. So now, Rob, all your discussion you were just wanting to get into, now you can get into it.
All right. No, I think that it's sticking to the issue at hand, and there's no, and all the evidence before us, it seems pretty clear. It's a violation of what it's zoned for. Added on to that, a lot of other concerns of safety and environmental. It's an aside, but maybe outside of our commission, something that might be pursued or mentioned to the right commission, whether either in the state or the town. But that's all. I mean, it seems pretty clear what's happening here.
Okay. Anyone over here? Anybody else? Before I take a whirl at it?
Yeah, it's pretty clear on the use, and just to expand on that, the safety issues are really alarming. Blocking the driveway. There's kids in the neighborhood, and it was zoned that way for a reason.
Okay.
I think, Mr. Masashi's note of December 9th saying it's not being used for that, he's not here to defend that, which is unfortunate for him. The pictures and the challenges would say otherwise. And I appreciate that they hired the officer, but that can't mitigate what's being done here for the safety side.
But the hiring of the officer mitigates the legal aspect of blocking a road, which is what they were doing with the truck. I actually got to watch the truck back in today. It was pretty good. I commend the driver. He's actually pretty good at it. However, I have concerns with having a trailer truck in there. Who paid, not that it's not really a concern of our board, but it does cause a lot of issues. Who's paying for the guy's driveway when the trailer truck straightens out and pulls into the driveway and ruins the guy's driveway across the street? And the tree belts, and who's covering those when those get damaged? I mean, this street is not safe for a trailer truck to be
Not at all.
backing into like that.
Do we know if trucks are allowed on that street? Because some
It's not posted that they're not,
They're not, okay.
but it is a very small street.
Surprising.
I think the zoning enforcement officer is correct in his understanding of what that zone was for. And, I mean, I would like to see some type of a buffer put in, but because we're past that point with the businesses that are there, we're kind of stuck with what we have. But I certainly wouldn't want an industrial business being put in with a zero buffer there. That's kind of crazy. And I'm not one to be real forgiving to a business that kind of goes through the process without going through the right process. Anybody that comes into town knows that you have to come in a certain way to open a business, and not just show up one day and do what you want to do here in town. And as we see, because some companies do that, it affects the lives of others in the community. And personally, I'm going to look to uphold the CEO's decision 100%. We do have the options of upholding it 100%, upholding part of it, or upholding none of it. So I'm going to start off with, do I have a motion to uphold the zoning enforcement officer's
Motion,
decision
That's the motion
100%?
that I made.
Right.
That's
So we
what
have,
we're
that's
discussing
the
right now.
that's the first one that we have.
And that would be declining the appeal.
Correct. So that's the motion that was made and seconded. So we'll go through that. If that fails, then we'll go through it
No.
another way. Huh?
No, it's one vote.
Okay.
But before you guys vote, just bear in mind that the motion was made to affirm wholly the order. There was no reason provided, so each commission member does have to state a reason.
Correct.
Mo, you were stating one. Rob was stating one. Rich was stating one. So I don't think I heard one from Catherine or Andrew. I don't remember.
If you want.
Because it wasn't made in the motion.
Right. No,
So,
I follow.
so just so you know that as we vote, you'll vote with a reason as to
That's fine.
why you're
works.
voting the way you're voting. So I guess we have to do this by roll call then, don't we? We've never done that before.
It's part of the bylaws that we revised that we got the legal opinion
Wow.
from the town attorney.
Okay,
You're back.
It's
I
just
guess you're up,
attendance.
because we're gonna,
But you're gonna read the names.
Oh, okay.
but starting,
And you don't have to take attendance again, but just read the names of who's
yes,
seated.
starting from number 2.
Okay, Andrew?
Okay, so
Before we vote, we're upholding the zoning enforcement officer's decision with a yes vote. Okay, just, we've always had discussion on that, and I want to make sure that we do this the right way.
And again, clarifying you're denying the
Correct.
appeal as part of that.
Correct.
okay. So for the record, my vote is yes, and the rationale behind that is it's an industrial activity, any way you shape it, taking place in a business local zone. The business local zone does not permit the industrial activity.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
Marion's, Charles. Oh, now it's myself. I am also voting yes for the same reasons that Andrew. It's industrial business in a business local zone. Robert Kwasnicki.
I'm voting yes because it is a business local zone and it is clearly an industrial operation.
Catherine Plopper.
I'm voting yes because it is a business local zone and it is clearly an industrial operation.
And Maurice LaRosa.
And I am voting yes because it is a industrial operation in a business local zone. And also there are many safety issues with having that type of industry with trailer trucks and stuff in that area. So the vote was yes unanimously. So the CEO's decision was upheld. So now we still sign these motion forms, right?
Yes, you would sign the one that you guys
We
opted
just don't have to
into.
put the reasoning behind it now because we stated them in the record?
Yeah, you stated them onto the record. If you want, you could just put the little blurb that, it was an industrial use in a business local zone, because that's what pretty much everybody said.
Okay.
So if you want to write that in the first one, only,
So
I think the first one's the one that you guys
Yeah.
opted into.
No, we're only going to sign one.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I should have just given you the one.
Yep.
Motion to approve a whole league. So I did motion to form, yeah.
So now, the applicant is not here, but you'll take care of all the
Yes,
notifications.
you'll
and-
receive a letter from the planning office.
Good. I'm going to have to get used to that roll call vote.
Well, there's two
It
different
does,
options.
it does seem to make it easier, though. I guess. I could get used to it.
Raquel, just to, off the topic a little bit, anyone can contact any state agency or division if they have concerns for themselves. They don't necessarily have to go through a commission or,
Absolutely.
okay.
So we're going to the minutes next.
I borrow that. Yeah, all right. All right, moving forward. You'll find a copy of the minutes for December 16th, 2019 in your packet.
Does the board have any edits that need to be made to the minutes?
I was just going to ask that, but you beat me to it. Everybody had a chance to read these? Anybody notice anything that needs to be changed?
Looked accurate to me.
All those in favor of accepting the minutes as they're written?
I need the motion.
Huh?
A
Motion?
motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
December 16th, 2019, regular, special meeting.
Made and seconded by Rob. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. And correspondent staff reports. That's you.
Well, first one is the Metro Hartford Future Executive Summary. This just had some great information that the town manager's office wanted us to pass along to all our land use boards and commissions. It just talks about how to capitalize from a regional aspect the offerings that Connecticut has. They talk about 3 different goals that they have for the region, which is to retain talent, to invest in our physical and social infrastructures, and the brand of the region to promote the strengths and to increase investment within the community. So it was a really good read to see that, there's a plan in place for the Hartford region.
Can I ask that you make sure that this gets to the Economic Development
Yes.
Commission as well? Thank you.
Yes. The next item on your list is the 2020-2021 land use meeting schedules. It just has everybody on there in case you wanted to know when we can hold meetings or anything like that, if we needed to hold a special meeting, the availability of all the other land use commissions. You also received a commissioner's list, so you know what's going on planning and zoning / aquifer, wetlands, historic, and conservation and agriculture. So you have their contact information if you wanted to reach out to them for anything. And that's all I have for correspondence.
All right.
Oh, I also want to say one thing. Jen Picacia, she's not here right now, but she did receive her AICP, so that's a great accomplishment. So I just want to throw that out on the record for her.
Excellent. Congratulations to her.
Legal opinion, CEO appeals fee. Interesting that we would be talking about that tonight, right? I think that was a
You
setup.
asked for us to put this on the agenda. You wanted to have a discussion on whether or not we shall have fees on our ZEO appeals based off the legal opinion that we received.
Okay.
And the legal opinion stated that it is the sole function of the town council to enact fees. And at this time, dated November 7th, 2019, the town attorney's office has found no approved fees scheduled that have been properly passed by town council. So if that's something that you'd like to consider, because of the legal advertisement requirements, we're publishing it twice before the meeting. And then after this meeting, I'm also going to be publishing a legal action ad, the cost to absorb some of those kind of things.
What are the average costs to post those?
It varies depending upon the length of the legal ad. So just posting it twice, I think it was $150. So that was before the meeting. Obviously, after the meeting, I'm only legally advertising it once, so it's going to be a little bit less, but there is a cost
I know we
associated with it.
kind of talked about this a little bit, and I'm still stuck.
You're still stuck.
Is there a way to make it, to put wordage in there so that if you come in front of us appealing a ZO's decision and you win, then you don't pay, and if you lose, you do pay?
Yeah, you can have
like I
language
said,
that.
I would hate for somebody to, I'd hate for Rick to go out and cite somebody. They come in front of us, and we side with the applicant. Well, then I don't feel they should pay if eventually we don't find they did anything wrong.
That also takes away the perception that they're just, no offense to Rick, but just finding cause to generate.
Right, and I know Rick would not do
Right.
that, but I do know in an instance where they make an appeal and they come in front of us and we find with Rick, then they should absorb that cost, because obviously there was just need to get involved. So I just wish, if there's a way to do it that way,
Yeah, we
then by
can
all
come up-
means, go to the town council and put forth your fees.
Well, we would
I would
need
just
the
want something like
nominations of
that.
what you guys would consider for fees, because currently what you guys were proposing, that where it's what's shown on your application, is residential ZEO appeals are 120, commercial or non-residential is 185. So at that rate, it's not really covering our legal expenses, our legal advertisement expenses, so.
So we've actually never looked at that. All the times we've changed our forms, we've never looked at the cost of anything because nobody ever asked us to.
Well, that's why we're here today, so we could propose, something.
Okay, again,
town
I
council.
would like to make sure that my other two sitting members, can we leave this on the agenda for next month?
Yeah, we could table it.
I don't, again, now that we're discussing that we can do it two-sided, where there could be a fee but not necessarily, I'm a little more comfortable that way.
Are you, so for the next meeting, do you want planning to have something prepared for you, or is that something you want to discuss on the format and everything at the next meeting?
Can I suggest that maybe we find out what kind of the average costs have been, be it residential and
Yeah.
commercial? Commercial, I would imagine, would be a little higher,
Yep.
just by the nature of the business itself. But if you
Average
come up,
cost for legal advertisement, or are you asking about other surrounding towns, how much they charge?
since you offered,
Whatever you guys prefer, I just need to know.
I mean, if you're ready to move forward and you want to put something together for us to take action on, by all means, go ahead and put it together and we'll discuss it and take action on it. And if it's, I mean, like I said, that's the only hangup that I had, was the double-edged sword there for ZEO enforcement. I'm fine with whatever you need to do with the rest of it, because it's an application that they're paying for to move forward with doing something. That's just the one hangup I had, was the ZEO.
Yeah, we can work on
So
language.
if you're ready to, if you have something ready for us to review, by all means, let's start the review process on it.
Okay.
All right?
So then you want average cost for the legal or surrounding towns, or both? Just so that I'm prepared for you guys.
Worry about our costs?
I just think, yeah, just focus on,
Yeah.
Our cost is really all that matters.
We don't want to lose money in the application process.
No, and that's not also factoring in the amount of times that like Rick or anybody who's going out there multiple times for the gas to inspect it, to talk to the neighbors who are also having concerns,
Right.
talk to the applicant face to face. So
And I know a regular application, that's probably never going to cover the time that you sit at the counter with somebody, or, you know, I do know that we do lose a little bit there, but, you know, that's part of it, I guess. So we'll get moving on that as soon as you have it ready for us.
okay.
All right? ZBA 2018-10-01, 148 Enfield Street.
zoning enforcement.
So what are we doing with that?
Okay, so as it stands now, the issue with the, they were approved with a certain site location approval, parking of the vehicles. They were in violation of that. So he was issued a notice of violation. I spoke to him a couple times. He kind of understands what the approval was, but doesn't agree with it. But that's neither here nor there. It is what he agreed upon, it was what he proposed, and that's what was approved. He subsequently has corrected it, so the cars are parked, the right numbers in the right locations as we stand now. So as for discussing anything else further pertaining to that property, I really don't think it's appropriate this time, because
Okay.
it could very well be appealed before this board. So with all due respect, I'd rather not discuss anything that's presently going on with it.
Works perfectly fine with me. So does anybody have anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We don't need a second, we're adjourned.
All right. So moved.